Welcome, friends, it's the Movie Film Podcast. The Movie Film Podcast, enjoy the show. Zachy and Brian are talking about movies. Movie Film Podcast on the radio.
Welcome to Movie Film. This is episode 120, brought to you by Mr. Boy Productions. My name is Zachy Hassan, and I am joined once again by my good friend, Brian Hall.
Hey, what's up, Zachy?
Well, Brian, we are talking to our listeners from a brand new place. It's like a brand new jam we've got going here.
We're broadcasting from the moon.
And it's pretty nice up here. The view is nice.
Very quiet.
Looks like a mushroom cloud is going off. I don't know what that's all about, but I'm sure it's nothing important.
No.
So Brian, why don't you tell our listeners about the new setup that we have going on?
Well, Zachy and I have been doing this show for 120 episodes.
So I thought you were going to say yours, because it does feel like that on occasion.
And this has been something that we do just as out of pure love. These are, as we've always said, these are conversations that we have anyways, and we enjoy having these conversations with each other and with other people, and we thought, hey, why not record these things, put them out there, see if people are interested in listening along and joining the conversation from their cars or from their treadmills or whatnot at the gym.
We've always felt that we have kind of a Moonlighting-esque chemistry.
Yeah. Will they, won't they, and then... Yeah. So, and that is, it's been a great hobby for us, and recently... we were reached out to by Blog Talk Radio, and they said, how would you two feel about getting paid to do Wayne's World? About getting paid to do the Movie Film Podcast? And by no means is this some sort of, $1 million proposition, but they just said, hey, why don't you just keep doing the thing that you're doing? We'll handle your show a little bit, put it out there in front of a few more people, and if you make a couple bucks, you make a couple bucks. And we're like, hey, zero was good, but a couple bucks is nice too. So that is why you heard an advertisement for Fine Product at the beginning of our episode. And there'll be another advertisement for Fine Product at the middle and probably at the end. So a little bit of a tweak to the format that people are used to, but hopefully not a super intrusive one. I think a tasteful and understandable one. Wouldn't you say?
I think that if you've been with us for these 5 years, just under 5 years, any change from your experience that you've come to know will be minimal. And if you're discovering the show right now, well, welcome. We hope you enjoy it. We love doing this, and we hope that you dig what we're putting out. We hope you smell what we're cooking.
Yeah.
And with that in mind, let's move on to our topics for this episode. Now, speaking of smelling what you're cooking, that is The Rock's famous catchphrase, Dwayne Johnson. Audiences were most definitely not smelling what he was cooking this past weekend, Brian.
Yeah, what he was cooking smelled a little stale. A
little stinky, perhaps. So Baywatch. Have you seen Baywatch? Did you see it?
I did not see Baywatch. I will see Baywatch when it is that Saturday night HBO movie.
Well, you'll be happy to know that you are occupying the same space as the vast majority of film goers in the United States who made a collective decision to not go to Baywatch. I am not one of those people. I did, in fact, go to see Baywatch. I just got out of it.
I don't know if I knew that. Really?
I just got out of it, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mere hours ago. And it's no surprise at all that this movie has tanked as much as it did.
Which is funny because, people didn't go opening weekend because of we have the reviews and whatnot and people's word of mouth to go on now, but a lot of people didn't show up because something in the advertisement wasn't speaking to them.
Yeah, well, and so the movie cost about $65 million, which you kind of say, well, that's not that much, right?
Yeah, it seems a little wiser than some budgets of some movies.
You'd think so, but then you say, well, this is a comedy that's set on the beach, so where is that 60? Like, where did you spend that money?
Right.
You know what I mean? Was the beach on the moon? A along with us as we're recording. So then you start crunching the numbers a little bit, and you're like, okay, 65 million. What does it need to open at? And the tracking was just colossally. Boneheaded on this because they were predicting something like 45 million. It opened to 23 million over the 4-day weekend.
Wow. So I didn't realize that the tracking was that far off.
The tracking was off by like $20 million.
Wow. So what accounts for that? I mean, obviously those are some sort of like metric math systems that they do that are usually really accurate.
Yeah.
So how in the world were they off by $20 million? That seems kind of unprecedented.
Well, you'd think so, but it's actually, we have a similar story about Pirates of the Caribbean, which, we're going to be talking about that later on in the episode. Same thing, where, the tracking estimates were much higher than they initially expected. I think the role of Rotten Tomatoes in this story is a substantial one.
Interesting, because I've seen a lot of think pieces from film critics trying to say like, "Hey, get off my back!
Yeah,
like, don't blame me. I didn't do this." But you feel, and it's not critics per se, but the aggregate system.
It's
of Rotten
the
Tomatoes,
system, man.
you do think that Rotten Tomatoes specifically probably works?
Yeah, well. So I mean, by way of context here, now you might recall that. Over the however many, about a year that we've been sort of discussing the onset of this movie as a concept, you were the one who was like, this looks like a steaming pile of dog shit. And I was like, no, come on, Brian, let's give it a chance. Right?
Yeah.
It was like Freaky Friday for us.
I immediately rejected this film.
Yeah. Well, and so I came at it like, well, if you were to take Baywatch and do kind of a 21 Jump Street take on it, I mean, that could be something interesting. And clearly that's what the studio is going for. This was Paramount. And just that was what they gambled on, and it didn't work. And I think there's a variety of reasons for that. And I think they were probably relying on the novelty of Baywatch as something people are familiar with. And I think that Baywatch is... Like, I don't know what associations people have with that show anymore.
It's funny because Baywatch is one of those almost Trivial Pursuit sort of answers currently, where there was a time, I mean, basically for the entirety of the 90s, where that was the most popular show in the world. And it was one of those things that everyone sort of knew. And it's like, yeah, did you know Baywatch, most popular show in the world? It's just one of those things. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I remember it always being there. I don't think I've ever seen a full episode, but I think this could be one of those things where people thought brand awareness, like Baywatch, is just ubiquitous, right?
So familiar brand plus beloved star,
right,
equals box office gold.
Right.
Well, The Rock has met the hard place.
Oh,
thank you.
Please tell me that was a tweet or a headline. You?
No, it was in Monogin just now.
Oh, that's great.
That one's free. No, but it's kind of funny actually because The Rock is so used to, striding across the box office like a conquering hero that he just could not register the fact that people were not watching this movie. I don't know if you follow this. He had kind of like a Twitter meltdown.
Yeah, I mean, I would hesitate to call it a meltdown, but I saw definitely he was sort of like when you should stop texting someone, but you keep adding another one.
He did the equivalent of when Jon Favreau calls that girl in Swingers.
Yes.
But via Twitter.
Yeah.
It was vaguely like Trumpish.
Yeah. Because he was yes, actually, so in his language and everything, really, it was
right?
Sort of the like critics hate all caps it,
yeah,
but film fans love it. You're a film fan, right? Not an EWE critic.
Fake fans, hashtag fake critic. Yeah, so like here's a tweet. Yay, positive upticks. Laughing, crying emoji. Fans love the movie. Critics hate it. What a glaring disconnect. People just want to laugh and have fun.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things where you read it, you're like, oh, Rocky, come on.
Yeah.
Don't do it. Don't do this, man.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because it didn't appeal to me because I just didn't think it looked very funny, but also I felt like I could see the flop sweat of it attempting to look like 21 Jump Street.
Yes.
And that just kind of annoyed me. And
I
it's
tell you something?
interesting that if apparently most people felt the same way.
I did not laugh one time.
Really?
I did not laugh at all. Like, I sat there stone-faced for, the 2 hours or whatever it is. It was not fun.
See, now here's the thing. I did not think this was going to be a great movie. However, similar to, like I say, these HBO movies, sometimes, like I said in a past episode, I just watched Why Him with Bryan Cranston and James Franco, which I didn't think was a great movie. I would not have wanted to spend $15 plus in the theater for it. However, I didn't hate my time for, 90 minutes on HBO as like a passable piece of entertainment.
Sure.
So that's what I thought Baywatch was going to be. Like, I'd probably roll my eyes at most of it, but at best, on a Saturday for 90 minutes, it would be a nice diversion. But it's not even that then.
I wouldn't. I just thought it was dull and uninteresting. And you can see the parts. You can see the works behind the curtain, the machinery.
Right.
But yeah, going back to this idea of Rotten Tomatoes, I as a critic, I have a problem with Rotten Tomatoes, and it is that, and I'm not even on Rotten Tomatoes, but what I don't like is that every critic's review gets boiled down to a fresh or a rotten. And,
Right.
most review, like if you're a critic, if you've written, 1,000 words about a film, there's some nuance there, usually beyond just, oh, it's great or, oh, it's awful. There's, you're trying to make a broader point. And so you can have kind of a tweener movie, and it's entirely arbitrary based on, I would imagine, somebody at Rotten Tomatoes making a determination. Oh, this is like based on the star rating or based on the grade. But, you can have a C+ movie that you don't like, or a B- movie that you do like, or vice versa. And how do you? It's such a wafer thin distinction.
Right. Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't like the fact that for a lot of people, I would assume these what do you call them now? Millennials with
Yeah.
their walking around there with their Walkmans and their fidget spinners.
As I have one in my hand here.
But no, but most people, I'm guessing, right? They pull out their phone, they buy their tickets on Fandango, and Fandango has like the RT number.
That's true. And so
Right?
does Flickster, which is what I use.
Yeah. And so most people, I have to imagine this is why the tracking was so off, because it's Friday night or it's Thursday night, right? The movie opened on Thursday, so it's Wednesday night. You're at the theater, you're like, okay, let's go see Baywatch. Oh, you know what? Like, at the moment of purchase.
Yeah, you see that little
maybe
green color.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas, the way it used to be, you would show up at the theater, you'd look at the big board, and you'd be like, oh, what's playing right? How about this?
Yeah. Remember that beach movie with the horrible advertisements? Let's go see that.
Want that one. Well, more than likely, it's, let's go see the thing with The Rock in it.
Yes.
Right. Or even, Baywatch with The Rock, but then you see the RT number.
Mm-hmm.
So, $65 million budget, it may make that domestically. Even that, I think, is a stretch, because I think if it opened at 23 and it's just going to be pummeled over the next few weeks, I see it like 50, 60 maybe.
Wow. I mean, who knew? I did not see it doing that poorly. And it's funny, while you were talking, I was thinking, like, I don't even think Chips did that bad. And then I looked it up, and it did way worse. So.
Chips, I think Chips cost less, though, I think.
Yes. Yeah, budget was only $25 million. Actually, and then worldwide, it almost exactly made its budget back. So
it's still a flop.
Yeah.
That's. I mean, nobody was asking for a Chips movie.
No.
But I gotta say, Paramount. What the hell's happening with them?
I don't know. I mean, as far as I know, it seems like
Paramount is knocking on Sony's door. Sony's like, hey, we really suck, and Paramount is like, hold our beer. Move over.
But it looks like they're like tripling down on their Transformers property, right? I mean, they're like, we're gonna have so many Transformers movies.
Yeah,
trust us.
We've discussed before. I don't see that strategy being a winning one.
I don't even know. That thing is sort of a unexplainable phenomenon to me. And not that I get why they're popular and I get why they make money, but the amounts of money that they continue to make when people, it seems to, generally people say they don't like them or find them incomprehensible, yet they continue to make the amount of money that movies people like make. So I don't know what's going on there.
Well, that can also apply to another franchise we're going to be talking about in just a little bit. So. Real quickly though, the other things I saw, one thing I realized is I never mentioned the kids' movies that I see.
Yeah.
I always kind of forget about that. And I just saw this past week Captain Underpants.
Yeah, which is one of those things where I think for the both of us, we missed those books, but I see them everywhere. Like, I know what this is.
Yeah.
But I clearly am not the audience for it. How did that even do? I mean, did its audience show up for that, the people that grew up with it?
So the movie has not opened yet.
Oh, I see.
I saw a press screening, so by the time people are listening to this, it'll be in theaters. Mm-hmm. But the film stars the voices of Thomas Middleditch, who is from Silicon Valley, which I didn't realize that until earlier this afternoon when you sent me a clip from Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Kevin Hart is in it, and Ed Helms in the title role of Captain Underpants.
Uh-huh.
And I went into this movie this is like parental duty. That's why I went in.
Yeah.
Because my boys are like, we want to go see Captain Underpants. And I'm like, it was one of those things. Like, all right, let's get in the van, I got to say, though, really liked it.
Really?
It was a lot of fun.
I thought I remember seeing the trailer now that I think about it, and I thought it looked kind of cute.
And when I say really liked it, I don't mean like Zootopia or Toy Story 3.
Right.
But like I had a good time. I was surprised how much I liked it.
Yeah. Nice.
When like on a scale of 1 to 10 going in, I was like a 3. Coming out,
wow.
I was like an 8.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
What'd your kids think of it?
They enjoyed it.
Yeah. Good. And they're fans, I assume. Like they've read the book.
Well, I mean, my older 3 are my. Actually, they're the only ones I took. I have so many, I forget who goes to it. my youngest son did not go. Yeah, so the ones who went...
You're like, wait a second.
Yeah.
Kevin!
Yeah, he's like still sitting in the theater 4 days later. Yeah, so the ones who watched it are fans of the books. Mm-hmm. And they like, my oldest was like explaining. He's like, yeah, they took this from this book and they took this. And I'm like, I don't care about any of what you're saying. He's talking to me about it like it's effing Lord of the Rings,
That'd be funny if he was just like, actually, this is the gritty prequel. And where it ends is where the book series begins, which is a bold choice.
But yeah, it was fun. I mean, it's a movie where the villain's name is Professor Poopy Pants. so it's one of those,
Yeah.
But it was cute.
Cool.
Nice. It is a DreamWorks joint.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, and
that's interesting. It feels they seem to have the movies that are distinctly DreamWorks, and every now and then they kick something out like Peabody and Sherman, right? Where it could kind of be anybody. Yeah, I heard it was good. I never saw it, but then this one too. Like I didn't know this was a DreamWorks thing.
Yeah. Well, and another new release, which I saw just yesterday, which I'll just mention really briefly, is Wonder Woman.
Yeah, it's like the thing to look forward to this summer.
Yeah, and it is good.
I'm very happy to hear that. I'm seeing huge praise for it.
I do feel like the praise is a little bit too orgasmic.
I had some concerns about that. I had some concerns of people wanting this to work so badly for reasons that I completely understand.
Every year now for 3 years, there's this cadre of butthurt men that should be the villain in the next Wonder Woman movie. The cadre of butthurt men. Yeah. Who they just make it their business to be pissed off about what? I don't know. Something.
Yeah, something.
Right? So
name your
2015, remember? It was Mad Max. Remember that?
Oh yeah, I forgot about it.
Yeah,
it meant so little to me. Yeah.
They're like, a woman drives the car. What?
Yeah.
And then last year, remember the days when the only thing like people were pissed off about was a girl Ghostbusters movie?
Yes.
Right? The good old days. So that was last year. And then now it's Wonder Woman. Now, this is just insanity, right? Like, I was just reading about how the Alamo Draft House. Did you hear about this?
Yes.
They're like, hey, we're going to have one screening of Wonder Woman just for women. Okay?
Right.
So if you're a normal human being, you read that and you say, oh, okay. You say, am I a woman? No. Okay, well, I'll just go to one of the other ones. That's like a normal reaction, right?
Right. Right.
No, it turns out the CBM, the cadre of butthurt men, right?
Yeah.
I hope that catches on, actually.
Yeah. That's pretty good. That's pretty
Like, you
good.
got these guys on Twitter who are like, look what I just got. And it's like, they like pictures of their tickets to the women-only Wonder Woman screening.
Mm-hmm.
And it's it's one of those things where you're like, really, this is the hill you want to die on?
I know.
Right?
They have thumbs and they have a phone and, apparently a little break between.
I mean, when you
Work,
think about
I
it,
don't know.
Wonder Woman will be playing on literally thousands of screens.
Yeah. Yeah.
There will be, if you want to watch this movie, I guarantee you that if you're a man, you will have plenty of opportunities. So you're just being a jerk, basically,
Yeah. Yes.
right?
Yes.
So
I agree.
so of course, it's become this annual thing where if there's a female lead, we just lose our minds. Mm-hmm. Like, what? How come why can't it be a man playing Wonder Woman? Like, that's how insane they are, you know?
You know what's funny is like I'm certain that's probably been tweeted. somewhere.
I mean, that's basically like, what do you want? It's called Wonder Woman. Are you upset that women want to see this movie?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
but so the movie itself, it is good.
Yes.
It is without question, in my opinion, the best of the DC universe movies.
Well, that's good.
That's not to say it's without problems, and I think anybody who's saying it's a perfect movie, I don't know. I think there are some obvious, if minor, flaws in there that are, worth talking about. So it's that's kind of where I'm at. But I don't want anything I say to affect your experience with it, because I do think it's a solid film. I don't think you'll be disappointed by it necessarily.
Yeah, I like the reason I'm trying not to get my hopes up is because I want it to be great, and I'm, as I've mentioned on past episodes, I hate using this word. It becomes such a blasé word now, but like getting a little bit of superhero fatigue.
Yes,
and that doesn't mean I'm tired of superhero films. I'm just tired of all the films sort of bleeding together in terms of look and style and tone and story and villains, and they're just becoming a little bit inseparable. And so hearing such high praise for this, I'm like, oh, I want something that feels special, So I have a little trepidation because, like I said, I don't want to go in with overinflated expectations, but at the same time, like I hope it feels different and I hope it feels special.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we will be talking about Wonder Woman next week in our next episode. So
yeah.
We'll have, I'm sure, lots to say.
Yeah.
Real quickly, have you caught anything recently?
Yeah, just very briefly. I saw this movie called Kicks, and it was so under the radar. The only time I had ever heard of it previous to seeing it in my TV schedule was at, I always like bringing up this podcast, the Q&A with Jeff Goldsmith.
Oh, yeah.
It's a screening series where he interviews screenwriters afterwards, and it's a podcast you can download, and it's wonderful. Great in-depth questions and whatnot. And anyway, I saw that he was doing this movie called Kicks, and it was about, the IMDb description says, Brandon is a 15-year-old whose dream is a pair of fresh Air Jordans. Soon after he gets his hands on them, they're stolen by a local hood, causing Brandon and his two friends to go on a dangerous mission through Oakland to retrieve them. And what looks like some sort of, inner city story, you're like, all right, well, that sounds interesting enough. But the poster of it is this boy being tossed a pair of Air Jordans by a man in a spacesuit. And I was like, go on. Like, what is this about? So anyway, I'd kind of forgotten about it because I missed the screening, and it was on HBO recently. And so I caught it. It's only an hour and 20 minutes. And I enjoyed it. This is funny. I was thinking about this movie actually when you mentioned the Rotten Tomatoes dilemma, because it's not a movie that I can say was like great.
Okay.
I think it aspires to a lot, and it very much feels like a young filmmaker's first film.
Sure.
Like he had a great idea and he stretched it out as far as he could, and he got some good performances and whatnot, but at the end you don't feel like you completed the circle or something. But there was a lot to like in this, and I think if that story sounds interesting at all, it's a difficult movie at times. I would say the message of it basically is violence begets violence. Which is not a fun. It leaves you a little frustrated and sort of wanting, because you just want things to resolve, but at the same time, I think it's trying to say like that's just not how things work always. And so I appreciate it for that, and I thought the performances were really good, and I just even the conceit of it, like this poor kid gets his shoes stolen, he's willing to go through hell to try to get them back because they mean so much to him because he doesn't have a lot.
Right.
And but sometimes some battles aren't worth it is kind of and I'm not saying that leads to the outcome, but just what they pay along the way, it kind of questions whether it was worth it. And I enjoyed that conceit. I thought the execution was pretty good. So anyway, Kicks, I think it's out there on, like I said, on HBO if people are interested in that. And then also I wanted to see Heat because I had heard that it had gotten remastered, which the 1995 Michael Mann movie got remastered, new Blu-ray, and it was only like $7 on Amazon, and I hadn't seen it since, I don't even know, like maybe when I first had a DVD player or something. So and I know this is kind of a modern crime classic, and interestingly enough, I've recently learned that Christopher Nolan like worships at the altar of Heat.
Oh, sure. But is that? I mean, come on, is that surprising? Did you see The Dark Knight?
Well, let's put it this way, because I had forgotten a lot it Heat.
Okay.
And so I knew that, but then when I watched it, I was like, holy crap, this is The Dark Knight without Batman. Like, it really is. I mean, there are these very blue-tinted, silent helicopter shots of Los Angeles with like one single note playing, very much like The Dark Knight, and you have the hero and the villain who are both flawed meeting in the middle to talk, you know, a la Batman and the Joker. And I'm not saying he aped it off, because that's the thing. He took what he loved, the essence of what he loved about Heat, and made it his own thing.
Right.
But it was very fascinating to watch it through that lens. And it's a movie that, because I hadn't seen it so long, I was ready to be like fall over myself for it.
Okay.
And I thought, like its age showed a little bit. And I was a little confused by Al Pacino's performance, because I was like, he is going full Pacino here.
Wasn't he like high as a kite during the making, or like something, right?
Supposedly, because then there is a Q&A conducted by Christopher Nolan on the Blu-ray, and Pacino says that his character was supposed to be on cocaine, but it was cut from the film. And he was like, I'm thankful for the opportunity now 20 years later to make that clear.
That's
so apparently,
hilarious.
Yeah, he's like, apparently, this I'm deducing this has come up quite a bit. Like, so what were you going for in Heat? And he's like, I was supposed to be on cocaine.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
That your entire performance
is informed by something extreme that is never told to the audience.
Like, I'm trying to think of something similar, like that would be like cutting out Denzel's alcoholism from Flight.
What a funny example. Yeah. That's totally, yes. Yeah. But two things, as long as we're talking about the Christopher Nolan thing, they had, the DGA will have these screenings, and then afterwards a director will interview another director, and they, sometimes they throw them up as podcasts, but they included the video of this one of Nolan interviewing Pacino, De Niro, Michael Mann, Val Kilmer, all these people involved. And it was fascinating because I went and saw a Q&A for Interstellar, and Christopher Nolan was the subject, right?
Okay.
So he was being interviewed by Edgar Wright, and he's very like, well, filmmaking is like a puzzle, you know what I mean? Kind of a thing. And it was funny.
That's your Nolan impression?
No, that was not a very good Nolan impression.
Okay. Is that Vincent Price?
No, yeah. I was gonna say that on the record, no. I'll work on it. But it was fascinating watching this Q&A because Nolan was the geek. Like,
Oh,
he
how funny.
loves this film, and it was funny. He was asking all these, okay, so when you were doing this, I mean, were you thinking...
So he's like Chris Farley.
Totally. I mean, that's an exaggeration.
Remember that one time?
Like,
when-
his own version of that, basically.
Remember that? That was awesome.
But it's funny because you can see De Niro and Pacino like, I don't know. I don't know. Like, you know, but Nolan is so into it and just like, tell me everything.
That is really funny.
But the movie, it's very good, and I certainly recommend it to people who haven't seen it. It's sprawling. It's about 3 hours, and you basically get to invest in the good guys just as much as the bad guys, and you are invested in both of their journeys, which is quite an accomplishment. And by the end, I felt like I had really gone through something. So.
Well, there we go. Brian's 22 years later review
Pete,
of Heat. Next week, we'll be getting his thoughts on Casablanca.
This movie's great.
Have you seen this thing?
Why is no one talking about this?
Well, I wanted to briefly share an interview that I did with Jeremiah Tower. Have you ever heard of Jeremiah Tower?
I'm sad to say that I have not.
So neither had I. I had never heard of him before I saw the documentary about his life. And there's a new documentary out called Jeremiah Tower, The Last Magnificent. And it's directed by Lydia Tenaglia, who I also had a chance to talk to. So Jeremiah Tower is America's first celebrity chef. Kind of interesting. And yet we haven't heard of him. And when you read up on him, you find out that he got his start here in the Bay Area, actually in San Francisco, at a restaurant in the Berkeley area called Chez Panisse. He kind of came in as the chef. The place had already been there, and he transitioned the menu from sort of French cuisine to California cuisine. And he started a fad of sort of American cuisine. And it spread across the country. This is like early 70s. And he's been a chef at several... He had his own place in San Francisco that he opened that was from the 70s through the 80s called Stars. And really interesting story of this guy who kind of... Like Icarus, you know, he flew high and then he sort of came crashing down. And he sort of flamed out just before kind of the age of celebrity chefs that we're in now. So this is a film that's actually produced by Anthony Bourdain.
Oh, interesting.
And so essentially Anthony Bourdain was like, we need to make a movie about this guy.
Well, that's kind of cool. So there's not like any sort of ill will or anything against this guy. I mean, people in the now celebrity chef circles know this guy and respect this guy.
But only in the celebrity chef circle.
I see, yeah.
Which I think is so interesting.
Yeah.
Right? And that's kind of a fascinating thing because watching the film, I knew nothing about it. And you know this, like one thing I like to do is just go in completely cold and just let the experience happen. And you find out, like, my gosh, there's this whole cuisine culture that I'm not versed in at all. And yet people have such interesting stories, and there's like conflicts and all this stuff in this culture that is very important to them, and yet, you know, to the outside world doesn't really register. I just find that kind of thing so interesting.
Yeah.
And the thought, you know, it's a little bit like the movie Chef. You know, you watch the movie Chef and you're like, God, you know, I never thought about how much work the chef puts into making sure the food is just right and that the plate looks exactly right. And I mean, you know, for the chef, it's art.
Right.
That's their art. Well, this is the story of an artist who kind of went. I'm not even going to say unsung because he was, you know, hugely successful and hugely popular, but his story has been sort of forgotten. And that makes for, I think, something compelling. So I had a chance to talk to Jeremiah Tower and the director, Lydia Tenaglia, about the film, about the history, about everything. And I think I had a really great time talking to them. I think Jeremiah Tower is really thoughtful and gregarious and just has a lot to offer. So I think you'll enjoy listening to this as much as I did being a part of it.
Cool.
So just to start things off, I guess this is for both of you, the genesis of the project. how does what's the seedling where this sprang from?
I just really wanted to go to Mexico, so I was trying to figure out a way to get there. And no, I mean, I read his book.
Okay.
I recommend highly reading his memoir. He wrote a fantastic memoir, and that was really the starting point for the whole project. Actually, Anthony Bourdain, who I have worked with forever,
Right, but-
he read the memoir and then he put it on my desk and he said, "Here, you got to read this." And I think, in all honesty, we have a series. My company, 0.0, has a series called The Mind of a Chef. It's
Okay.
on Netflix. Every season, we focus 8 half-hour episodes on one particular chef. And so I think maybe from his point of view, he thought maybe Jeremiah could be one of the chefs for that series.
Sure.
And so he gave it to me with that in mind. But at the same time, he said, read this. It's there's a history here that needs to be, rectified, remedied, revised. And so he sort of came at the story from the sense of, injustice, a story that had to be modified and corrected. And I had no real context because I had never really heard of Jeremiah.
Oh,
So
okay.
I read the story and I thought, wow, there's a really interesting story here. And frankly, why haven't I heard of him, given what he's done in his 30-year career? So that was really the starting point. It was the memoir. And then a long conversation followed between me and Jeremiah. And then I think that's when I really started to get engaged and thought there could be a really interesting story here that goes beyond,
Yeah.
just a biopic.
So Jeremiah, I mean, just from what Lydia said, it's got to make you feel kind of good that your life is just too big for an episode. It has to be feature length.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to the second one.
There you go. We got to have a trilogy.
All
Right?
the stuff that's on the cutting room floor. Yeah.
Well, you get the call that there's interest in turning your life into a movie. I mean, how does that make you feel?
Well, I mean, it made no sense at all. I mean, I had no idea why anyone would want to. It was certainly not my nature to. I mean, I had a lot of PR, and I did that. Sound bites, 3-minute shows, that kind of thing. But to do this, I had no idea why they wanted to do it. But then I listened to Lydia, and she was very convincing. And her motto is, "I never give up." So she didn't. And Tony Bourdain is a very articulate, very impressive guy. So when he explained all that, and he really got to me when we found out we had a mutual hate of journalists who don't do their homework, who just repeat the last story they ever saw on whatever that subject is. So 30 articles before that on a subject, you got most of the truth, and then it just gets watered down every single time. So he thought that had been done to me. So when I listened to it, and I listened to it several times, and I heard it from Lydia, it got me a little bit worked up, and I thought, okay, let's do this. Let's see. I've never done anything like that before. It was certainly different from being on the beach. Why not? Yeah.
Well, with that in mind, I mean, having seen the finished product, what is that experience like, where you see your life filtered and boiled down, and sort of your complexities are being interpreted through an editorial lens?
Well, I didn't know what to make of it. The first time I ever saw it was just before, 2 days before the Tribeca Film Festival premiere. And Lydia and I were sitting in a big theater in New York, big empty theater, and at the end of it she said, "Are you going to hit me?" I said, "I have no idea. I don't know what just happened. I just have no clue. I'm so stunned. I mean, it's so odd to look at yourself that way." But then I realized, so I didn't know what to say or think. And then at Tribeca, it seemed like an eternity. It was probably 3 minutes, but it seemed like 10 or 15. The audience had not a peep. You could not hear a popcorn thing go. I mean, you couldn't hear anything. It was dead silence except for the movie. And so I leaned over to Lydia and I said, "I think we better run for it. We're going to get killed here." And then somebody giggled or laughed, and then the whole audience loosened up, and we got a long standing ovation at the end. So I thought, who cares what I think about it? I mean, the public loves it, which turns out to be true. So I'm very relaxed about it. I think it's a very good movie. I've seen it 10 times now. About the 5th time, I think I finally got it. And I was able to sit there as a customer rather than me looking
The
at
subject.
Me. Yeah.
Right. Well. I mean, Lydia, with that in mind, what was your approach? I thought the reenactments and things, and sort of the kind of the dreamlike almost. Those were interesting authorial choices for a documentary. What was your thought process as you strung the story together?
Yeah, I mean, there's two camps about, recreations in a documentary, and you always go into that very trepidatiously because it can either flop or it can, actually work to enhance the story. I think some of those recreations are more successful than others. But I think I always had in the back of my mind there had to be a visual illustration of these formative memories. There's certain memories that Jeremiah has. He highlights them in the memoir. There's certainly memories that you see he pulls in later on when he comes to Chez Panisse, and even later on in Stars, that came from this youthful experience of traveling the world, being alone in these very fine restaurants, these gigantic menus, 5-star hotels, the cruise ship. And so, I think there was real thought behind how we bring those little bits of memory alive in a way that felt like memory. The backgrounds are slightly skewed.
Right.
The architecture, if you really look at the back plates, the architecture is not sound at all. So it's hopefully the way you remember things. Particular memories are kind of highlighted in your mind, and you remember them in these very kind of particular ways. And so we try to capture that feeling of memory through those recreations, and again through this style of shooting them on a green screen and then creating kind of a skewed architectural space behind them. And I think some of them were really successful. People remark that they actually really do love looking at those. There's one in particular with the boy.
The little boy taking the croquembouche, the caramel, and he's sort of feeling it and touching it. It's beautifully cut, because then finally he puts it in his mouth and he looks up at the camera like that, and it tells the whole story.
It does.
It's just brilliant.
Yeah. So, looking at sort of the sweep of your career, Anthony Bourdain says you're the first celebrity chef.
Right.
What does that label mean to you? Is that something you embrace, or is that something that you sort of take umbrage to?
No, because you have to think back to what it was then, not now.
Sure.
It's not Gordon Ramsay making everyone look like a bloody idiot,
Sure.
and making cooks cry. I mean, that's not the point of the restaurant business.
Sure.
That's the point of making money on TV. Back then, the point was to fill the restaurant so we could pay the bills, meet the payroll. I mean, seriously, there wasn't really that. And I can see you frowning because it's very difficult for you to comprehend.
I'm processing it. I'm not
because it's like when I say people, but you can't believe that the ingredients. Now that you go to Whole Foods and there's everything there. None of that. I mean, 95% of that was not here then.
Okay.
In 1972. So, does it make any sense to me to say we didn't know what we were doing? That I didn't know that we were doing these things? I mean, I knew what we were doing. I invented them, but I didn't know that they had this social and political power to be able to change things, make a revolution. That was to fill a restaurant. By the time, Stars came around, I had already figured out that the power of a chef, which would then be called, star chef, would definitely fill the restaurant and it would get me all the ingredients I wanted. I would say I need this, and the next thing you knew, some company had brought it in from France or found it in Maine or whatever. I wanted a wine. A lot of the wines at Kermit Lynch, Bandol Tempier.
Sure.
I brought that. I said, I need that wine in California. And they brought it in. A friend of mine brought it in. So that was the power of the chef. It was about filling the restaurant. It was about making the kind of environment you wanted. It was about getting, social recognition, so that people coming to work for me didn't have to lie to their parents and say they were actually in accountant school instead of working in a kitchen. So all of that was the reality of it at the time.
So the culture that you you created when you made the switch, when the California cuisine.
Right.
Did you have any indication that it would become as revolutionary as it was, or were you just looking to do something different?
Looking to do something different because I couldn't find the ingredients to do France anymore. I'd run out of regions. I'd done every region in France, once a month to fill up shape. And we could charge $5 more per person, at those special events. So we charged $12.50 instead of $7.50, for a 4-course or 5-course meal. Sounds stupid, right? But that's the way it was. So I'd run out of regions. And then I cooked one from Corsica, and I didn't really even know what Corsica was, let alone what Corsican food was. So I cooked a very bad dinner. That was the first time ever. And I felt like shit the next day, and I thought, why am I doing this to myself? I was practically in tears. I was in tears, and I woke up in the morning and thought, I'm not doing that again. And then something clicked, and I thought, wait, why am I whining? Why am I complaining here? I knew about Monterey prawns because we'd used them. I used them in bouillabaisse and said it was from Marseille. Now I can use them and say they're from Monterey Bay.
Sure. That's the selling point.
That's the selling point. So we did that menu, the California Regional Dinner. It was all in English. It named the farmers and the sources, and California Farmers Market for the dried figs and all that kind of thing. It just seemed like a great thing to do, and it was fun and it was different. And then of course the press picked up on it, and then all hell broke loose.
Away we go.
Away we go. Yeah. It's going to, fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy ride.
And who? I mean, could you have imagined the ride you were in for at that moment?
No, and I didn't really know until 1983 when we did a lunch at the Astor Mansion in Newport. The kids, they were babies from California, from Berkeley. And, we were going up against, in the evening, the main event was Guy Savoy, famous French chef. And, since we got thrown out of the kitchen by the French, get out of here, we're the important ones. So I thought, right, fuck you, So I put all the grills. We had grills in the back where no one would see them because of the smoke and everything, And I brought them out front and put them right in front of the 100 people where they were having lunch. Like, people are there. Here are my grills. And we started cooking. And we even cooked the dessert on the grill because there was no other heat source. There was warm berries on ice cream. So we grilled everything there, and they went mad. And the next week, all over the United States for the first time was this food section, called the food section, not the arts or entertainment or lifestyle or something. It was called food section.
Separate thing on its own.
Yeah, and it had a full page instead of, page 3, a column like this or something, in color for the first time. And I think there were 30 or 40 newspaper covers like that had, Jeremiah Tower, New American Cuisine, or Mesquite is King. They'd never heard of mesquite before, which was brought from California. So that's when I knew I was definitely about to ride the tiger.
Oh, wow, that's not a bad legacy.
Yeah, well, you do get bitten sometimes.
Sure. But this was completely new to me when I'm not familiar with the Bay Area food history.
Oh, right.
So that
good, you came to it cold.
Yes.
Completely cold.
Nice.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, and I avoided
Finally.
reading any of the notes. I knew nothing and so I was shocked because I was like, oh, this is entirely local, and I felt like an ignoramus because this had swept by me, but I thought it was fascinating. So,
Oh, good.
yeah. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
And the film is in limited release right now, but Jeremiah Tower, The Last Magnificent. Check it out. I would say if it comes up on Netflix, worth giving a look.
Cool.
Well, Brian, we haven't done listener letters in a little while, and we've got a nice meaty one here that I wanted to sort of unpack with you.
Okay.
So this is from Eric San Juan, who I had the opportunity to co-write Geek Wisdom with back in 2011. He's a good friend of mine. He's also a very accomplished writer on his own. So the fact that he actually took the opportunity to pen some words to us is kind of a nice thing.
Very cool.
So he says, "Hey guys, I'm long overdue to drop you a note. I really don't want to work this morning, and I just got done listening to episode 116. See, we really don't want to work when we record the show. That's why we do this show. We're just putting out, like, I don't want to take care of my kids, so I do this instead. You can hear pounding on the door. Daddy, feed us.
Yeah, and I just want to stop crying, so I come on here and do the show.
That's what the show's all about. Just got done listening to episode 116, so now's a good time to finally do it while it's still fresh in my mind. A few quick thoughts. Episode 116, a little while ago now. It's about 2 months ago. He says, first, Conan the Barbarian. Remember I was recommending Conan the Barbarian to you, Brian?
I've never heard of it. Yes, it's one of those ones that people of our vintage seem to have all seen growing up, and I missed it. And we were talking about that.
And I recommended it to you, and you were like, sure, Zachy, and then you have not watched it, because that's the way things usually go. So if my word means nothing, maybe Eric's will mean something to you, Brian. He says, Brian, Zachy is right. That should be the catchphrase of this show.
Brian, Zachy is right.
The Movie Film Podcast. See this. In fact, I'll take it a step further and say Zachy underplays its status. This is a classic. At times a bit overwrought and unable to decide if it wants to be a B movie or something dire and serious, but a classic nonetheless. Sword and sorcery flicks are rarely this good.
Sold.
Wow, that's a high bar.
Yeah.
I will say this about Conan the Barbarian. It has a music score that truly elevates the movie itself. It's one of those things where you can easily imagine the version of this movie that has like a synthesizer score.
Yeah.
That just drags it into the sewer. But I think this is because I think the movie itself is pretty darn good. I think it's a good flick. But you give it this score that just, it bumps it up like half a letter grade.
Wow.
Basil Polidoris, who passed away recently, but this is like the crown jewel of commentary scores that he's done. He didn't pass away earlier this year. Did I say earlier this year? He passed away. He passed away a while ago.
Right.
Anyway, moving on. Yeah. Go ahead.
Then I will check it out, and that's the thing too, because Mad Max had been off my radar as well, and then Zachy forced me to watch those, and
I did.
I was
At gunpoint.
I loved them. Yeah. So not even just the new one. I mean the past. I loved all three. So.
Yeah, and that worked out because you watched them all before the new one came out, so you were
I was enthused.
You were suitably invigorated.
Yeah.
Eric continues. He says, second, The Walking Dead. Zachy, you said something that rang true with me. Paraphrasing, I don't want to look back on my life and realize I spent X minutes on that. That should also be the catchphrase for this
I was
show.
just going to say
The Movie Film Podcast.
Yeah.
That sums up my entire entertainment philosophy, and it's why these days I will happily turn off a movie if it hasn't caught my interest in the first 10 or 15 minutes.
Man, I wish I could do that.
What's that?
I wish I could do that.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way where I'm kind of like, once I've committed, I'm like, well, in for a penny, in for a pound.
Yeah.
He says there's too much media out there to consume in 10 lifetimes, much less one. I have no idea how you guys do it. I don't know either. My wife doesn't know either. Why waste what little time we have on junk? And The Walking Dead, alas, has turned into junk. Or maybe it's more, I know, harsh words. Maybe it's more accurate to say that it's always been junk, but it was at least entertaining junk that began to stale once we choked down the same formula for the 6th time with no end in sight. Mm-hmm. Robert Kirkman has been open from the start that he'll keep both the comic and the show going forever, if he can, and that's a problem. It's nice for his wallet, but it hasn't resulted in a story that keeps me engaged. There's no sense that it's going anywhere, no sense that the twists and turns mean anything, no sense that one day the story will come to a close and we'll look back on an epic, cohesive saga. Basically, it's the days of our lives, but with zombies and baseball bats.
That's pretty good.
Very true. And he wraps up, he says, even the who will live or die question becomes uninteresting when the characters themselves are rarely given much in the way of nuance or depth. Eventually, you have to ask yourself, why am I watching this? And I say this as a guy who self-published a book analyzing the first 5 seasons of The Walking Dead. So I've paid attention, but not anymore. I bailed partway through 6 and dropped the comic a year or 2 ago.
Wow.
Ouch. And I don't know if his experience and mine are just anecdotal, and because the show is still doing well ratings wise, but it feels to me like there is sort of the sense among the gathered, the throngs, that this isn't going anywhere.
Yeah, you have mentioned that before, and I don't watch it very consistently. But I did get that sense, and even as I was listening to that letter, it made me think of a show like Lost, which maybe got stretched out a little further than it should have.
Yes.
But at the same time, it was always like, what is this island? How do we get off this island? Like there was some sort of overarching goal the whole time.
And you knew it had to wrap up.
Right.
Right, and it's funny because when we look at how the TV zeitgeist has changed, it's moved towards that expectation of a wrap up. Whereas when you think about it, like look at like CBS shows, and that's sort of I'm painting with a broad brush, but like you know what I'm talking about when I say CBS shows.
I think so.
Like NCIS and CSI, and and those are shows that are really meant to just stretch on into the distance forever.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And The Walking Dead is a show that's I've said this before, where it's a show that it needs to end at some point. Mm-hmm. But then you say, well, what ending can this have that will be remotely satisfying?
Mm-hmm.
And then you game it out, right? So you're like, whether it's a year from now or 5 years from now, and let's assume it's 5 years from now, there's no way it ends where you're like, well, that was satisfying. I'm glad that I spent 15 years watching characters kill each other and get eaten by zombies. But by gum, it was worth it, because what happens at the end, right? It's not like civilization gets restored. It's still a shitty, horrible world.
Which is funny because I agree with that, and I don't think that's something I would be interested in. Not if I was a fan, not having some sort of goal for these characters to reach. But is that okay if it's zombie Days of Our Lives?
I mean, at least thus far it is.
Right. I mean, is it just like, okay, well, then this is what it is, and the wheel's going to keep spinning, but I get new sort of action each week, and I just tune in on Sunday, and then I get what I get. Like, is there anything to that? Or is that, like you said, shows have sort of evolved away from that currently, so I don't know. Maybe it's an old model, but is there anything to it, or do you think for this show specifically, I
think that a story is only as good as its characters, and that show is reaching a point now. I mean, it's this is my sort of hypothesis in general, but I think that the further away from the beginning of the zombie apocalypse you get, the less interesting it becomes to some extent. Because really, at its core, this genre, at its best, let me rephrase, at its best, this genre should be about what makes human beings human beings. Mm-hmm. Like, how badly do we fight to hold on to who we are in the face of a civilizational catastrophe? Mm-hmm. And so the further away we are from that inciting incident, the further removed we are from us.
Right.
And we move further and further down this really nasty place, And that to me is summed up in this Negan character who, it's, again, I said it before, it's misery porn.
Right.
It's, here's my baseball bat covered with barbed wire, and I'm going to, bash your brains in. Well, that's awful,
Yeah.
Like, and I don't need that imagery in my head. And I don't want to think of characters who I like and I think of as who I have an attachment to in that way. Mm-hmm. Because that stuff stays with you,
Yeah.
And I think it numbs you.
I wouldn't want to see that either, frankly.
Yeah. It numbs you to some extent,
Right.
There's one of the characters, he gets bashed in the head, and literally his head is like dented in. His one eyeball is like almost popping out of his skull. I mean, it's granted, it's all effects and everything. You get that, right? Mm-hmm. But I don't. It's like, echoing Eric's point. It's like, why do I want to spend my emotional capital on something that's just so miserable,
Right.
where I'm not going to get anything fulfilling out of it? You know.
Yeah.
He wraps up. He says, "Finally, Brian, I need you to hate X-Men Apocalypse with me."
Yeah, I was not a fan of that movie.
Yeah, but I don't think either of us hated it. I think we were both just like, whatever, right? Wasn't that?
It was, yeah, I don't think I hated it, but it was like, I would say it was maybe one of the worst recent offenders of like just a blur of
CGI
color and
nonsense.
story and people and things, and then 2 hours later I walked out for superhero films. Like it was
They
just
should put that on the box.
yeah, yeah. It was just.
Yeah.
It probably had a couple of moments that captivated me, but then for the most part, I remember it feeling different from what we had recently been doing with X-Men, and it was the one I was least interested in.
I 100% agree, and I think it says something that they're working on the next one in that series, X-Men Dark Phoenix, I think it's called, and like I can't muster much enthusiasm for it,
Yeah.
I'm just like another one, and I'm a fan of the X-Men characters,
I know. I don't know what you do. Like I said, I mean, maybe because there is so many of them, like, and not just X-Men specifically, but they're all just really starting to feel. I think that's why Winter Soldier for Captain America was like, oh, we're trying something different here,
doing something different,
and you could notice, and so I just.
Well, that's why
hope they keep
Deadpool
finding-
worked.
Yeah, exactly. So I hope that they. That's another sort of thing where you don't want to then let's make our Thor workplace comedy just for the sake of trying to make it completely different.
Although there kind of is that, if you've seen the little shorts that Taika Waititi shot.
That's true.
Right?
That's true. Maybe that was in the back of my head when I was thinking it. But
Yeah.
But yeah, I just as long as efforts are being taken to make one distinguishable from the other, then
Yeah, well, and I mean, look at Logan, right? There's, hey, let's do a superhero western. Like I think that's what really needs to happen now, is rather than looking at the superhero template, you say, okay, how many different ways can we push and pull this genre in interesting new directions? Mm-hmm. Things that haven't been done before.
Yeah. And obviously that one paid off. People responded to it.
Yeah,
So.
I mean, both the Deadpool and Logan were hugely successful. I would imagine far more than Fox executives would have expected.
Yeah.
I do think that the genre of not just superheroes but comic book to screen is getting played out, and I can't think of a better example of that than the news that just dropped today, which is that Sin City, Frank Miller's Sin City, is now going to be a TV show. I saw this on our discussion board here, but I have not seen this article. So is it the same characters from the film? Or is it just the universe and I would assume the universe, right?
Right.
But this, I mean, it's kind of the same thing where it's like Walking Dead. It's such an unpleasant place. The idea of living there for years sounds awful to me.
Exactly. I mean, those movies, I remember seeing the first one and wanting to like it more than I did.
Exactly.
Because the style was so unique and fresh, and it was like, I want to like this new thing. But yeah, like you said, it was hard to sort of...
It was just nasty.
Yeah, it was just nasty. And I didn't mind it for that's what that thing is, okay, but I didn't go back for the sequel, and I can't imagine I would be interested in the show.
Well, and I mean, that it tells you something, right? Because Sin City, the first one, in 2005, made $160 million.
Wow. Domestically? Wow.
So, I mean, pretty big hit, right?
Yeah.
The second one, 9 years later, makes less than $40 million.
Ooh, wow.
Right?
Wow.
So it's a one-shot deal, in other words.
Yeah.
And sorry. Let me clarify. It was 75 million domestic and 85 million foreign. Mm-hmm. So total 160. Sorry about that.
I see. Still.
That's still substantial.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So in other words, the appeal was, hey, let's go see this thing that looks mildly, different. So the prognosis is even worse for part 2. Domestically, it made less than 14 million.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, is a show like that expensive? Because it feels like every single shot is an effect.
Well, it wouldn't be expensive because the movies weren't expensive.
I guess so. I mean, I don't really know.
I mean, they basically shot the movies in like Robert Rodriguez's garage.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? I mean, if nothing else, you can admire them on a technical level.
Yeah, I mean, they look amazing.
Sure,
For sure.
But
Yeah,
it's one of those things where you watch it once and you've had the experience. So the drop off, obviously 9 years was too long. But beyond that, I mean, if they had produced a sequel the following year, I would have been like, no, I've seen it already.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea that no, now we're gonna move in. So let's say we do a series. You have two options, right? You set stories in this universe, but you eschew the sort of the black and white, the noir stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then it's just these grimy, gritty stories that are A, unpleasant, and B, just knockoffs of things that have already been done, right?
Right.
Number two, you do the comic book style thing, which, like, how appealing is that going to be on a week-to-week basis?
Yeah.
My point is, why aren't we the ones making decisions?
I don't know.
Because this seems like a non-starter to me.
Yeah.
Now, I grant you. Let me couch this by saying that I was only recently listening to our conversation after the Lethal Weapon sizzle reel dropped. You and I. And we were both very confidently just wiping our asses up, down, and sideways on this show. We were like, I love Damon Wayans. It's a shame this show is going to flop so badly. Like, we were doing one of those things. So, let me leave open the possibility that, we were, and also in that same episode, we were talking about the MacGyver pilot.
Yes.
And I was like, this show will not last half a season. Mark my words. It's been renewed for another season.
Has it really? Oh, I thought we were right on that one.
Nope. Completely wrong. So,
Well, CBS.
yeah, well, and it's because it's a pre-sold title,
Yeah. It's funny because I'm glad you actually said that about Lethal Weapon, because as you were talking about Sin City, I was like, there's a version of this. I mean, if you come up with some
You're like,
protagonist.
let me channel my inner Brian.
Well, or even if you like this is a weird out there example, but if you had some sort of like Eddie Valiant character,
Okay.
you know what I mean? Like, there's a reason he's got his issues.
But isn't that kind of the Clive Owen character in the first movie?
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I don't recall if he does anything admirable at all. I mean, maybe he does. I don't like it. Maybe their own version of it. Like he shot a guy execution style instead of dropping him off a roof or something. Who knows? But like, yeah, you have some hard-boiled guy who's a decent person in an indecent world. Like, we always say this. There's a good version of everything. It's just too many times
Well, I
rarely
guess
gets
this will be a to-be-continued conversation. We should put a pin in this episode to see if we're eating crow, like a year from now or whenever.
Wearing our Sin City hats and shirts.
Yeah. Hey, Zachy, guess who I just interviewed?
Yeah, exactly.
Other news. Speaking of dark comic book universes, this is another DC universe movie that's been kicking around. It's called Dark Universe. This is a good title. It's a Justice League spin-off movie. You heard about this, right?
I've heard the title, and I looked it up to see what it was because I didn't know what it was. I wasn't familiar with it.
So this was originally being developed by Guillermo del Toro.
Okay.
As a vehicle for him. And this is like the Justice League, but with anti-heroes.
Okay.
Not to be confused with Suicide Squad, which is like the
say.
Justice League with villains.
Right.
There's many layers, Brian.
Right.
There's many layers in this universe. So this would be like Swamp Thing and John Constantine and Zatanna the Magician, and like characters who you Brian Hall know nothing about probably.
Yeah, probably for the most part.
So it's like a darker thing. Now, when I first heard about this, it's been a couple of years. It's like Guillermo del Toro directing. Like you say, okay, your mind starts working. Like Guillermo del Toro doing like a Swamp Thing movie. I'm intrigued. You know what I mean? And then he drops out, and Doug Liman comes. Doug Liman, who we were just talking about last time, and you're like, okay, it's kind of okay, you know. I don't know what that looks like, but I'm curious, you know. Mm-hmm. And now he's dropped off. Now it's just kind of kicking around. And this is, again, I always say this, like, the thing with DC movies, it's like they're putting the franchise so far ahead of the film.
Yes.
Like, guys, do this like one movie at a time, you know?
Right.
Stop
Right.
Stop planning the Swamp Thing spinoff before you even know how Wonder Woman is going to do, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But here's where shared universes start colliding with each other. Mm-hmm. Because it turns out, Brian, that there's another shared universe that's also on the horizon, which is Universal's revamp of the classic monsters.
Right.
Do you know what that universe is going to be called?
I do. Dark Universe.
Dark Universe. So now we have Warner Brothers with their Dark Universe, and then we have Universal with their Dark Universe. So the question is, which universe is darker?
Right.
So now supposedly, well, here's the funny part, because Warner Brothers has not decided what their movie is going to be called. It's either going to be Justice League Dark or Dark Universe.
Which is kind of weird if you're Universal, because every single movie, I don't even think people realize this, but I worked on a movie once, and every single thing is checked to see if it is legally cleared for use. And when I say everything, I'm talking names. So if there's a guy named Dennis Johnson, and he is a dentist in your film, and there's a Dennis Johnson who's a dentist somewhere out in the phone book, you have to change the name. Like, we changed names in this movie for those reasons. And not only that, but anytime you see a room and there's a piece of artwork on the wall, all of that has been cleared. Nothing is an accident. And that's why sometimes, I remember even in La La Land, I noticed in one of the last scenes when they're walking down the street, there's a billboard in the very, very back that's blurred out. And I was like, wow, in a movie this big, they didn't have that covered. But anyway, all that to say,
how funny.
Universal had to know this was a thing. So it's kind of weird that they were like, well, yeah.
Yeah, it's like a pissing contest.
Yeah.
Almost. But it's just funny because it's the battle of the universes now.
Whoa, that sounds like a cool movie.
Battle of the Universes. Sure. That's the only thing that's left now, right? We've got shared franchises, shared universes, now shared multiverses.
Dude, you know it's going to come to that.
I mean, Marvel versus DC. You're telling me that that's not something that a million audience members wouldn't easily turn up for, you know?
I wonder if we ever will get there.
If you would have told me we'd have an Avengers movie 15 years ago, I would have said no.
I mean, speaking of Roger Rabbit, right? Whoever thought Bugs Bunny and Mickey Mouse would be sharing the screen at some point? So.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, and when we talk about this Universal Monster Universe, that to me is like this perfect example of, guys, just like get the first one right.
Yes.
I mean, this drives me crazy. Like, we were talking about King Arthur last time and how that movie, they were already planning this big 6-part series. And I'm always like, everybody's trying to be like Marvel, yet nobody looks at what Marvel did, which was they just made a friggin' awesome Iron Man movie.
Right.
And that movie, other than the post-credit tag with Nick Fury at the end, had no reliance on what comes next.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's and you can still watch it now, almost 10 years later, and it's still rock solid, that movie.
And I'm certain they had ambitions, but it wasn't like they laid them all out to be exposed and then potentially...
Right, to be embarrassed.
Yes.
Because they obviously had ambitions, because like 2 months after Iron Man came The Incredible Hulk with Tony Stark in it at the end. Mm-hmm. Right, so they were already thinking in those terms, but they were, it was kind of like, well, let's see where this goes. Mm-hmm. Right? And when you think about it, had Captain America and Thor flopped still, they could still have made the Avengers. Mm-hmm. Because there was still appeal in that,
Right.
The thing is, I look at this, right, and it's like, okay, we got The Mummy coming out next week. The tracking is not very good for that. And why? Because if you look at the trailer, it's Tom Cruise running.
Yeah.
Right? And you and I are both Tom Cruise fans, so we're going to watch this regardless. But be honest, are you, like, enthused about it?
No. And my brother, who I bring up often on the show, he's like a really good barometer where he knows about half the stuff we know, but he also like enjoys being a little ignorant to some of it and just sort of going with the flow and whatnot. And it was funny, his reaction to that trailer, because he likes Tom Cruise like we do. He's like, he just doesn't make bad movies. So if he's in it, then I'm interested. But then at the end, when it became this big CGI storm with like a CGI face over a city, he was like, nah.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel the same way. Like, it just didn't look distinguishable from just other things I'm seeing elsewhere. Like, I want it to look special. I don't know what that is.
Right.
If I'm really going to put myself out there, like, it looks really, like, muddy yellow. All of it. Like, you know what I mean? It just looks like this muddy yellow effect. And I want to know that there's, like, a story there. Like, I think they've teased it a little bit better in the most recent trailers where it's like Tom Cruise apparently dies, but then he's not dead, and it's possibly because this thing wants him. It's like, well, what's that? Like, is there a story, or is it just like sand everywhere?
Yeah, and it's the, you know, is he apparently he's meant to recur throughout these other movies.
Tom Cruise?
Yeah. And obviously they're setting up, you know, Russell Crowe as being like the Nick Fury in the, you know.
Yeah, Jekyll. Jekyll.
There's always like the organization in all these movies. Like like in King Kong, it's what is that, Monarch, you know?
Oh, right.
Right? And then in this, it's like Jekyll Co. or whatever the hell. I mean,
yeah.
hide and seek. I don't know what it's called, but you know, it's kind of like we're starting to see. It's like you talk about superhero fatigue. We're getting like shared universe fatigue.
Which is crazy,
right? Because you see the pieces a little bit, you know. And so I'm looking at this list, and it's like, well, we've got Bride of Frankenstein on tap for 2 years from now. Mm-hmm. They want Angelina Jolie in that.
Okay.
And that's one of those things where you can see the concept in your mind, like why they want Angelina Jolie. But then they have Johnny Depp playing the Invisible Man. Yeah. And it's like, again, you talk about like stars being value added. Like, does that sound like something you want to watch?
I can imagine a version of it I want to watch, but when I see the Mummy, I don't know that it's going to be
shut off
the
your
thing.
inner Brian for a second.
I was just going to say, I mean, if what I'm seeing with the Mummy, and I actually am a little more optimistic about the Mummy than I think I'm letting on, because again, I think Tom Cruise picks things
right.
with,
I agree with what you're saying. Like
he discriminates, but like
I expect like a baseline of being entertained from the Mummy.
Yeah.
I don't expect the sun and the moon. I just feel like it just feels odd to me that they're getting so far ahead of themselves.
Maybe that's it. Like, they just need to keep their cards closer to the vest. Like, there's something about this over-ambitious. Maybe it's like the problem everyone had with Anne Hathaway, where someone just seems like really over-eager and whatnot, and it sort of puts you off. Maybe that's kind of like what it is, right? Like, all these shared universes are being the Anne Hathaways of film.
Stop being such a Hathaway.
Yeah.
That's
who, by the way, we like Anne Hathaway.
I have no doubt she's a lovely person.
Yeah.
But regardless, there's also they want Dwayne Johnson to play the Wolfman.
Of course,
because he's Dwayne Johnson.
Yes.
And they want Javier Bardem to play the Frankenstein monster.
I get it. I see it. I see everything you've said.
To me, that's like
Jolie.
Javier Bardem, you're saving like effects money because you just cast him. You don't have to do shit.
You know, I would love to see a good Frankenstein movie.
Sure. I'm not trying to be mean to Javier Bardem. I'm like, do it practical. Don't do a bunch of CGI. We've seen CGI Javier Bardem. We're going to talk about that in just a few minutes. Mm-hmm. We don't need that.
Yeah.
Like, picture a Javier Bardem who's just made up to look not horrible and like Robert De Niro when he played the monster. Remember that?
Yes, right.
Just like a version of Karloff.
Yeah, I could be into it. I could be into it. So I hope.
So regardless, the Dark Universe is a coming unless Warner Brothers sues them, in which case it'll be called something else.
The Schmark Universe.
the Schmark Universe, right? Yeah. Moving on. Hey, Brian, we've got a big new release to talk about.
Yeah, we do.
So, Pirates of the Caribbean 5: The Revenge. Isn't that what it's called?
yeah. It's sort of like the Spaceballs, where it's like Rocky 5.
thousand. Yeah.
Sorry, 1,000. Yeah.
That's what this felt like, yeah. So Dead Men Tell No Tales opened this past weekend, and it I don't know how well it did. I mean, it's being called kind of a disappointment.
The critically or fan wise?
Well,
or
I think
money-wise?
critically that ship sailed, no pun intended. But even box office wise.
Yes.
Now this
yes.
is a movie that cost $230 million.
Right.
Which, if you need, I want an itemized receipt.
Meaning what? You think that's low or high?
I think that's ridiculously high, and I don't understand where that money went, unless like 201 of that was Johnny Depp's salary.
You know what's funny is when I was watching it, I thought this movie looks really expensive. I mean, you've got Javier Bardem's hair floating the whole movie. Like everything in this movie is expensive.
Right, but it's expense. It's like it's needless expense.
That is up to the viewer, but I actually thought this looked like a $200 million movie.
Okay, so then
Whether it's worth it, I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying it looked like a $200 million movie to me.
Well, and so it opened to something like 70 million.
Yeah, pretty good, actually. I was just looking. Worldwide currently is, after its first weekend, $365 million.
So the last one made more than $1 billion.
Yeah.
This one, even if it ends up being the lowest grossing of the Pirates movies, could end up being another $1 billion movie.
Right.
Now, the movie ended, and if you look at the marketing, it's like the final voyage, or, it's like the last time, or we're done now, we promise. Like, that's basically what the marketing is saying. The movie itself, there's nothing explicitly in the movie that says that.
No.
So it ends, and I'm like, oh, God, can we be done now, please? That was me. And bear in mind, this was after having mainlined all 4 of the other ones.
I am really
In a
curious
row.
to talk to you about this because I'm going to blow your mind here. I actually kind of enjoyed this movie.
See, I am very curious to talk about that because my reaction to it is I'm just kind of like, if you like these movies, you will like this one. I think I said this last time. I'm like, I just don't find the character of Jack Sparrow particularly interesting. Mm-hmm. And so it's just like I'm forced to hang out with somebody for hours on end who I don't like. It's like a metaphor for this show. I just
We're coming
don't.
up with a lot of taglines and
I know.
analysis on this show.
We're going to have pages of them, yeah.
Yeah.
But
I think-
that's me and Jack Sparrow.
Yeah, well, I'll say this, and I do want to get more into this with you. I remember, like we've said this a million times. I think everybody says this. Everybody pretty much enjoyed the first Pirates of the Caribbean movie. It came out of nowhere. Was this big, rollicking blockbuster movie with characters that we had not seen before. Johnny Depp was really interesting. The first time you saw Jack Sparrow, I mean, it was immediately iconic.
Yes.
And
Great
it was
great entry, like one of the great movie entrances.
absolutely, and it was a good movie. Generally speaking. And then the sequels came, and it felt like they were trying to have this sort of Star Wars-y continuous narrative with these characters and arcs and twists and turns, and I just could absolutely care less about those things. I don't even remember what they are. I feel like Keira Knightley turned into a pirate at one point, like got her own ship or something. Is that
Yes.
a thing?
Yes.
Okay, so, which is just nuts. But with this one, I think what I enjoyed about it, and we can get into it a little bit more, but I thought, for what it is, I thought the action was surprisingly good. And then I also thought that I liked that it ditched all of this sort of trappings of the previous movies and just felt almost like an episode. I mean, there are characters who are related to previous characters, but it wasn't tied down to the other films. It just happened to be sort of like another episode of Pirate Adventures.
Yes.
And it felt way streamlined story-wise compared to the previous.
And yet, even still, it felt so bogged down to me.
It
Because
is.
I acknowledge it was streamlined, and yet it was bogged down. Explain that to me.
I totally do get that, because I that was another thing that I didn't like about the previous films was they felt so overstuffed and busy. Like they felt visually busy, the stories felt busy, and I just couldn't get a grip on it. And like the action was always interesting, but that was like
See,
it.
and that's the thing. What I can point to in each of the original 3 movies is some clever action sequence. because I think Gore
Yes.
Verbinski is really good at that kind of thing,
Yes.
and you really feel his absence in the crappy fourth one.
Yeah, the fourth one was just, I remember not even hitting that one. That was like a in one ear, out the other. Like just, okay, I saw that thing. And
Sure.
which I'm completely getting this off the top of my head. But speaking of stripped back, wasn't that one almost 3 hours?
The second one was sorry, the fourth one was a little over 2 hours.
Oh, okay. One of them was like 2
Yeah,
hours
the-
and 50 minutes or
The
something.
third, the
insane,
third
right?
one, the third one.
That's insane.
It's ridiculous.
And this one is like 2 hours, basically.
Yeah, which is what that's thank God. for
And
that.
there was a moment toward the end where I felt like, and we're wrapping up.
Right.
And but we still had like 30 minutes left. But I honestly, and this is the thing that I even like wrote this down. I was like, I have to remember this. And I will give full praise to this movie for this. With its action sequences, it did everything that I complain about. The way that action sequences are choreographed and executed in modern movies, this one did the opposite and did it the way that I love it. Like, it had these really clever uses of surroundings and props and whatever were in front of people, and where the cameras were and how they moved and when they cut. Like, it was never choppy. It was never confusing what was going on. It completely showcased the clever action that they had conjured up. And I was just like, I like this. I'm really enjoying this. So, I mean, as you know, when it gets into some of the story stuff, some of it was fine for me. Some of it was a little like, but I really did enjoy the action a lot, actually, in this movie.
See, I'm struggling to come up with like one action sequence that stayed with me.
I'll tell you two, actually. The two big ones that really got me. The opening, so I'm not going to consider this a spoiler because it's an opening. But they basically rip off Fast Five.
With the bank, sure.
Yes.
Okay.
They rob a safe and they pull it, except instead of pulling it with cars, they're pulling it with horses.
Right.
And essentially, the joke is that they don't just pull the safe, they pull the whole bank.
Right.
So they're robbing a bank, literally. And I was just like, okay. Like, at first I sort of rolled my eyes because I was like, Fast Five much? But then I was so taken with the way that it was captured. Like, they really managed to get the scope of it and the scale of how insane that sort of thing was, and come up with these sort of, you know, funny jokes and little visual gags of what was going on. And I was like, wow, who directed it? That was my first thought. I was like, who directed this? That was actually pretty well executed. And then there's a scene where Sparrow is put into a guillotine. And
I did like that scene. You're right.
that was pretty good. Like, all hell breaks loose. And then, I mean, I guess he doesn't.
And we
come
should
on.
give credit to the directors, by the way, because we haven't mentioned them at all. It's Joachim Roning and Espen Sandberg, who did Kon-Tiki.
Okay. Yes. And but that guillotine sequence, it's like basically he's stuck in a guillotine, and eventually he manages to break free from death, but he still is trapped within the confines of the wood and with the blade attached to this guillotine. And they kept coming up with these clever ways to spin him around and make the blade a threat. And then people are fighting with swords, and he uses the wood that's in front of his body like a shield. And that was clever enough, I thought. But then also what I really love, and maybe I'm being so effusive about it because I rarely see it these days, even in movies I like, but it's just the way that it was captured was so competent and thrilling. Like, it managed to be exciting, but it also managed to show you everything that was happening. And that's such a damn rare thing. And it was done so well to me that I just couldn't help but, I was like, I did not expect this. I came into this thinking it was just like, this was a chore that I was going to do for the podcast. And I walked out having fun.
See, so I think in that case, having watched this at the tail end of a binge was maybe the wrong way to go.
Maybe.
I will say this though. I think that that it never got as exciting for me, or as engaging, I should say, as that opening sequence. The stuff with the guillotine and stuff. I thought that was a lot of fun. I think once we wind up in digital animation wonderland,
yes,
you know, I mean, it gets exhausting. That's really my by the end. That's where I was. I was like exhausted. I think that the mythology, the internal mythology, doesn't make a lot of sense.
I I'm completely with you on that. It did turn into that sort of thing that you hear too often, where the third act sort of sinks it a little bit.
Yeah, no pun intended.
Yeah. Like it relies too heavily on far too many visual effects, and you start to lose a little bit of the whatever you were grasping onto, the human element where you were pulling for everybody. I just all kind of drown. Why am I coming up with sinking, drowning?
Well, you want to talk some spoilers?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So the story here, like the question I have is, how old is Jack Sparrow at this point?
Yeah, which is I did not expect that going into this movie. You see his Jack Sparrow Begins.
Yeah,
basically.
Right. We get like the Indiana Jones on the Last Crusade version.
Yes,
where like
where
every
everything
important
we know
thing,
about him.
like he gets his hat and his whip and his scar, like everything Jack Sparrow-ish he gets on one day.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And the thing is that, you know, one of the characters we follow is Henry Turner, who's played by Brenton Thwaites, who is Will Turner's now adult son.
Right. Will Turner being played by Orlando Bloom.
Being Orlando Bloom.
Yeah.
So this character, Henry Turner, is basically a less interesting Orlando Bloom. How do you get a less interesting Orlando Bloom? I don't know, but they found him.
I completely, yes. He did not leave much of an impression, no. I will say this. I'm like going like crazy about like how much I enjoyed the thrills of this movie and the adventure of this movie, and I did, like, a lot. But yes, the characters are fine. I didn't hate the story. I actually was impressed that I was able to keep up with it about 3/4 of the way through.
Sure.
Which I think for a Pirates movie is, I deserve a medal.
Pretty good.
Yeah. But yes, I mean, he's not, maybe, I remember, like, being taken with Orlando Bloom and Keira Knightley's characters, like, okay, like, I am with these guys. But I never, well, actually, I was kind of with the Karina character. She was interesting, even though she felt like a really broad stroke of a character. But
yeah, she's like, I'm intelligent. Like, that's her.
Yes, yeah, she may as well have like worn a shirt
line.
that said, "I'm intelligent." Yeah,
I'm smart. You know.
Yeah.
Chicks dig science. You know, that kind of.
Yeah, totally.
I think that. See, again, it was confusing to me because the Will Turner, who he has to be the captain of the Flying Dutchman, right? Mm-hmm. And he has this curse where he can only come back to land every 10 years. But he's not all like screwed up or whatever, because we see him at the end, at the very, very end, post-credits of the third movie, which is set 10 years later. And so little Henry Turner is 10 years old.
Okay.
And I don't know if you remember this. And it ends with basically his Will Turner's ship returning, and he looks normal. Mm. And so the thing here is that the Flying Dutchman's job is to ferry the souls of the dead to the land of the dead. Mm-hmm. And you only get all screwed up looking like that when you fail your mission. Right. Like, that's why Davy Jones was all screwed up looking. Mm-hmm. Okay, so when we see Will Turner in this one, he's all like screwed up looking, right? So in other words, see, I can hear you getting lost.
Yeah.
And that's how I felt, because I read up on all this crap because I was trying to understand it.
It's funny. I was like, I don't remember that at all.
That's my point. There's like a story in the middle here that they didn't reveal, which is, why does Will Turner look like this? Because he's not supposed to look like this.
Right.
Unless he gave up his mission, which, if he gave up his mission, that's a story.
Right.
That's an important part of all this.
Right.
Okay, so that's okay. Fine, whatever. Okay, whatever. So then we're like following Henry and the Karina stuff, and then eventually we meet the Salazar character. Now, Salazar, I think, who is, you know, Jack Sparrow's arch nemesis in this. Why? Because he's the pirate killer, right?
Right.
And this is the fascinating morality of these films, where really we should be on his side.
I thought the same thing.
Right?
Yes, I mean, we're past spoilers. So when he got killed at the end, I was like, I don't
Yeah.
feel good about this.
But here's the thing, okay? Here's the thing, right? We are meant to not ever be sympathetic with him because there's the flashback scene where, if you remember, he kills all the pirates, right? And and there's like pirates who are signaling for mercy, and they're like, Captain, what should we do with them? He's like, no mercy. And he takes a bite of his apple. And
Yeah.
so at that moment, you're supposed to be like, ooh, I hate him so much, right?
Yeah.
And that moment is basically meant for you to be okay with him dying at the end.
Yes.
And what I thought would have been so much more interesting is that if you have him be a not bad guy
Right.
who, like when you like in the world of this film, he should be a good guy going after pirates who we're not supposed to sympathize with.
I know I've thought about that too, because the pirates are who you enjoy the most and who you aspire to want to be when you walk out of the theater, right?
Right.
You want to behave like, but they are horrible, horrible people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So more interesting to me is you have a good guy who has an opportunity at redemption at the end. Like, that's kind of interesting. Jack Sparrow took his life away, but now Jack Sparrow gave him his life back. Mm-hmm. That's interesting.
Which is funny because in a way they sort of use that up on the Jeffrey Rush character.
Exactly. So to me, they went to Jeffrey Rush and they're like, hey, we want you in this movie. He's like, there's not a chance in hell. And they're like, listen, we promise we will kill you off in this.
Yeah.
I feel like that's how they...
I gotta be honest, that story was fine with me.
I didn't mind it. But to me, I'm like, he is still like, he starts out as the villain of these movies. Mm-hmm. So it's weird that in number 5 we're supposed to feel sad when he dies.
Right,
because even in the sequels, I don't feel like we ever build up a well of sympathy for him.
No.
So it's very like it again, and this always happens where like I think just because we watch a lot of movies, you start doing movie math.
Yeah.
So as soon as he's like, oh, the ruby in the book, I was like, he's 100% going to be her dad. Mm-hmm. And then he is her dad. And then I'm like, okay, he is 100% going to die before this movie ends.
Yeah.
Because that, to me, the alternative is her being like, oh, you're my dad. Oh, you're my dad. Like, you know what I mean?
That's yeah.
So he needs to be kind of sanctified,
Yeah.
right? Because at the end, she's like, well, what am I to? He's like, treasure. I shouldn't laugh, but
No. It's funny too. I think there was that line. There was some other line where I just pictured the screenwriter like being like, "Well, I'm done for the day."
give himself a high five.
Yeah. I was like, that works. There's a funny, and I'm not making fun of it. I bet that line when that came, I'd be proud of that line if it came to me in a pirate movie. But there is this funny sort of. Okay, so I start off super hyped on this movie, and I stand by it. I do think this is like a fun trip to the movies. That is my final take on this. The thing, and that's mostly for the adventure and some of the fun and whatnot. But there were things that sort of annoyed me, even beyond story. There's pros and cons to this, but there's this weird sort of like old Hollywood patter that the characters have with each other.
Sure.
And sometimes I kind of enjoyed it. And then other times I like was rolling my eyes, like when the Henry character and Karina were having their little flirtation by like the hanging noose.
Yeah.
It was like he wasn't flirting with her at all, but she kept making it about flirting. And I just started to feel, it felt overly precious. And I was like, okay.
Well, like they were trying to do like a Howard Hawks type of
Totally.
his Girl Friday kind of thing. Yeah.
And that's like a total matter.
No, I hear you. Yeah.
Well, that's fine. Like I said, like some of it really I giggled, and some of it I was just a little like, okay. But the scene where I was like totally on a high for this movie, because again, I did not want to watch this, and it like completely took me by surprise. But then it came to a dead stop when they went onto that island and they were hooking up Jack Sparrow to get married.
Oh my God. Yeah. That's like, you cut that out for time.
Yeah, because not only
it felt kind of mean to me.
I wrote the word cruel.
Yeah.
I was thinking, first of all, it put the movie to a dead stop.
It just grinds to a halt. It's very mean spirited.
Dude, the Salazar character and all those like dead pirates are running on top of water.
Yeah.
In a shot that looked so cool. I was like, cool. And then all of a sudden, you've got like Jack Sparrow's got to marry a fat woman.
Yeah, right.
And I was like, what? I was like, that's like, I don't even find this funny. I was
Right.
like, is this funny? Like, are we supposed to be laughing at this? Like, is this supposed to
It
grow?
felt like
what-
something from the 50s or something.
Yeah, yeah. And then it just, I don't know. And then part of me was like, it would almost be funnier if it was one of those things where there's like a veil and then it ends up she's like super attractive and then he wants to marry her, but he gets taken away from her or something. You know what I mean? Like,
See, what you just said, that's better than what's in the movie.
yeah. I mean, it would make more sense and it would be a little less cruel.
Well, and the same thing as I think making Salazar not like super evil.
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
just little stuff that would add more texture to it.
Yeah. So basically, from that point on toward the end, I thought it turned into a messier, a little more what you expected out of like a fifth movie in a series that's been running out of steam a little bit. However, I would still say overall I did enjoy it.
See, to me, it's like it comes down to things like the MacGuffin of the film, right? Mm-hmm. Which is with the Poseidon's trident, right? Mm-hmm. What does it do? Oh, if you break it, it's like the screenwriters are like,
This is true.
it breaks every curse in the sea, I guess.
Yeah.
But how does that
I don't
even
know.
work?
It's
What does
never
that
half.
even mean?
Yeah, I know. I was
Right?
like, every curse? Yeah, that's like all the movies are done now.
Yeah, you
Like,
know, it's, we never really get an explanation for why Salazar and his crew become that way. It's sort of implied because they're in like a place
some
called
weird phantom zone. Yeah.
the Devil's Triangle. I mean, that's the thing. It's just, I feel like, do I want this stuff to be staggeringly realistic? No, because that's Captain Phillips. If we're talking about a pirate, movie, right? I just want some level of consistency within this universe so that I can sort of wrap my head around it.
Sure.
Because to me, I said this to somebody else. I was like, I really feel like the closing moments when Will Turner returns and there's Keira Knightley. Keira Knightley's like, oh, Will Turner, you're back. I feel like that moment.
That wasn't a clip, people.
That's not from the movie. That's 100% Hassan. I feel like that moment, like if you've grown up with these characters, like if you were a little kid when you saw the first one in 2003, that would be like a huge moment. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But for me, it was just like, oh, okay. Like it didn't have a lot of resonance for me. And
Same.
and that's, I'm not, maybe that's not me being critical of the film. Maybe that's just me sort of just saying where I am, Because
Sure,
I should
yeah.
point out, man, my kids love these movies.
Wow.
Right. I took my oldest. I took my 10-year-old and my 8. Like I didn't tell my 8-year-old we were going, and then we came, and he found out, and he was like mad at me.
Really?
Yeah. He was like he doesn't cry, so he was like on the verge. He was like, because he keeps track. This kid, my 8-year-old. He's like, you took him to this. Like he knows all the movies that he went to by himself.
Wow.
And I'm like, yeah, but I took you to this, and this. And he's like, yeah, but the other ones were there too. Like he wanted to go. He wants like, oh, how come you take him like by himself? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, I told my wife, I was like, I want to just. It's okay for me to take the older one. I want to first watch it, make sure it's not scary or whatever, and then if it's if it's okay, I'll take him. Mm-hmm. But then I watched it, and I'm like, oh god, because my 8-year-old's like, okay, well, you have to take me. And I'm like, I really don't want to. Like, I don't want to watch this again. I'm done,
That's funny.
But it's my 8-year-old who's jumping around the house, and he's like, dun, 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 or whatever the Pirates music,
Yeah.
the theme, which isn't even really a theme. It's just Hans Zimmer doing his thing,
Yeah.
So the kids really like these.
It's funny because they are kind of violent.
Yes.
Like, there's the part where the Salazar character, they got all these like pirates hanging upside down. He's just
Yeah.
like one by one, just executing them with his sword. I was like, damn.
But it's all like antiseptic in a way.
Yes.
And it's kind of like implied. I mean, I have to give Disney credit for that. Like, if the movie has Disney on the title, it's relatively family safe.
Yeah.
So I do have to give them props for that.
I think, these are good, like, PG-13 movies,
Yeah.
right? Like, where there's
It's not like
actual
borderline
danger
R.
to them. Yeah. But they're not, yeah, exactly. They don't, like, wallow in
Filth.
darkness. Yeah.
just nastiness though, like that shotgun wedding scene.
Yeah, just not funny, kind of mean.
Kind of mean.
A little
Yeah.
outdated, and yeah.
Well, I think that's kind of where we're at with Pirates of the Caribbean 5. It's kind of mean and a little outdated. Brian liked it a little more than me. I think this might be the most like disagreement we've had.
Yeah, which is kind of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't hate it. I think I gave it like I don't remember what I gave it, to be honest. I think I gave it like a C minus.
Oh my gosh.
Oh
Yeah. No, I it's just so funny. Like I don't even know if I got that from. Well, no, I guess I did. I guess I did get that from what you said. I honestly, I guess I'm putting myself out there, but I'd maybe give it like a B plus.
B plus. Wow.
Yeah.
Dang.
Or maybe a B. Let's give it a B.
Okay.
Because I thought it.
Back off the ledge, Brian.
Well, I was gonna say, I think what it is, it does pretty well.
Okay.
It does better than most of the sequels.
I agree with that. I think if you like what these movies are selling, you'll like what this one has to offer.
Yeah, and I think if you want it, because it's funny, this past weekend, it was a holiday weekend, and like everybody in my life was out of town,
Okay.
except me. And I was like, I'll go to the movies. Maybe I'll go see. And then there was nothing I wanted to see.
How funny.
And I didn't end up going. And even with Pirates, I saw Pirates because I found out we were going to be talking about it. And so I think, though, if you are like going to go see this on a big screen for like $15, I think the adventure is worth a theater visit. I don't think the story holds up to scrutiny and whatnot, but yeah, it's a worthwhile summer popcorn flick for sure.
Well, there we go. I think that's a good place to leave this discussion.
Yeah.
Well, Brian, as we wrap up the show, is there anything you want to let audience members know about?
Yeah, well, I am currently a writer over at a show called Puppy Dog Pals, which is a cartoon over on Disney and Disney Junior. So you can look that up, check it out. I think people will like it.
Nice. And Brian is also a guest on the latest episode of the Film and Water podcast.
Yes, thank you very much for bringing that up.
Yeah, I just listened to that earlier this afternoon. You talked about the movie Train to Busan. I have not watched that yet, so I listened up to where you started talking about spoilers, and then I stopped because I still need to watch that movie.
Okay, you should. And that's the whole reason I was asked to go on that podcast is because it seems when you meet another person who's seen this movie, you get excited because you can't wait to talk about it. And that was such a fun conversation with Rob. So yeah, definitely people check out the movie first and then check out the Film and Water podcast.
Yeah, Rob Kelly hosts that show. I've been on it, I think a few times. I think twice at this point. And it's a really fun show. So if you are subscribing to this show, also subscribe to Film and Water. You'll enjoy that.
Totally agree.
It was weird listening to it because it was weird having you responding to somebody who was not me. I'm not used to that.
Yeah, that's funny because actually, I mean, we're at the end here. We can blab a little bit if people want to turn it off. But I finally listened to when you were on Batman on Film podcast.
Oh, how funny.
Talking about the Last Jedi trailer. And I've been so behind. I've been so busy on podcasts and whatnot. And so I finally was like, I know this is kind of old news, but I just wanted to hear your guys' take on it, which was a really fun listen. And ditto, it was kind of funny hearing you when you're not, like, because I'm used to you being the host. And so when it was just like, well, quiet for a while. And what do you think, Zachy? I was like, what? It's a whole different rhythm for me.
It's a different rhythm.
Yeah.
I have that same experience when I'm on Out Now with Aaron and Abe, which that's another movie podcast, which Brian, you should listen to if you haven't already. They do kind of the same stuff we do, but I'll join them every once in a while, and it's nice to kind of be in the other seat.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And you don't have to be juggling all the balls. You can just you can be the dancing monkey when you're needed.
Exactly.
It's kind of nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was a lot of fun. And as far as what's going on with me, well, you can find me at ZakisCorner.com. That's ZAKIS Corner. That's also my Twitter account. That's also my Instagram handle. And coming up this Sunday, I will be dropping a special Nostalgia Theater commentary track on Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, with my good friend, Glenn Greenberg, who is a Star Trek comic book writer and novelist, and a huge Star Trek fan himself. We've made our goal to go through the entire series, and it just so happens that this coming Sunday is the 35th anniversary of the release of Star Trek II.
Wow.
So we will record on and drop the show the same day.
Very cool.
That's the plan. And Brian, you know this. The Wrath of Khan is one of my all-time favorite movies. Mm-hmm. So I will definitely be quite effusive in my praise, but hopefully I'll have something interesting to add too.
Yeah, I look forward to listening to it.
And, as we wrap up this first episode of our sort of new arrangement, I want to welcome aboard all the new people who are hopefully checking this out. And I want to thank once again all the people who've stuck with us up all this time and who've allowed us to reach this point. And,
absolutely, yeah.
If you have any feedback or anything you'd like to offer, please email us, moviefilmpodcast@gmail.com. You can also hit like on our Facebook page, facebook.com/moviefilmpodcast. Also, go to iTunes and leave a star rating, leave a review. Every little bit helps, even if it's just one or two words. If you're digging what we are doing on the show, please let people know, because that will be of great benefit to us, especially as we move out into new and, dare I say, uncharted waters, Brian.
It'd be funny if someone put a review and it was like, fun action, muddled MacGuffin.
I was with them until that final pun at the end. But we will be back in 1 week to talk about Wonder Woman. I'm excited, and hopefully you are too, but we'll be back in just a few days. So this has been Movie Film 120, and thanks for listening.
Welcome, friends, it's the Movie Film Podcast.